to the cloud. Hello, everybody. You're in the Laban lab. Woo! I'm in this room with exactly at least one other person, maybe exactly one other person. I'm in a Zoom room. You're welcome to join me sometime if you want to. You can find these classes on my website, www.lauravward.com. That's my first sales pitch of the day. I'm going to try and interject sales pitches throughout this whole thing for the Laban work, for my work, and for my channel. So as we were coming into this, I was talking to Mary about doing body work on other people. And I have to say that for myself, I studied Laban movement analysis in 1995-96. I did the year-long program at LIMS in New York City. Right after that, I studied connective tissue therapy with Teresa Lamb and John Chanik and Jackie Hand. And connective tissue therapy is a hands-on movement that's really dealing with the fascia and the nervous system. It's a hands-on body work. And so that was a really intense few weeks program where we were at her house. We were working on each other all day long. It was like maybe the most intensive training I've ever had in my life. But it helped me really land the Laban work in my body. And so one of the things that was really big, and we're going to talk, this whole class is going to be on the body level. So in Laban, there is body, effort, space, and shape. They call it BESS as a little mnemonic device. Body, what is doing what part of you is doing it. That's all the anatomy, the kinesiology, the relationships of body, the basic body actions, whole body connectivity, which is something that popped up in my feed today. I was like, oh, those Laban words. Effort, which we've done a little bit. Space, we've done a lot. Shape, we've done a little bit. And actually, I'm doing more shape in the role play class. So if you want to see that, there is a modes of shape change role play class that's very much about Laban work. So on this body level, when I was studying, there were certain things that, let's just play with this. Let's just play with this movement. And like, let's just imagine that here is a table. There is a body on the table, and I'm going to touch that body in whatever way I'm going to touch it. So let's just imagine, using our imagination, that we're touching this body. So we're having our imaginary touching of the body, and maybe we want to just feel the energy, or maybe we know something is over here that we need to work with, or something over there. We're going to stretch this or stretch that. What I want you to think about is, what are your feet doing right now? Yeah, what is your connection to the floor? So we could talk about our heel sits bone connection. So the connection of our heel to the floor up into our sit bone, up into our pelvis. And like, I can just bounce that. As I give that a kind of a hard bounce, I'm giving my bones that like, oh, hello, here I am. I can feel the whole structure of my body, but it's that groundedness, right? So as I'm touching this body, what's happening in my body? And I feel like this is the thing that I want to offer, is that when we're working on someone else, maybe the most important thing, and this is my opinion, maybe it's totally different for someone else, is what you're feeling in your body. So if I'm in my body and I'm working on somebody, and it takes me, and I'm going through all sorts of other things, I'm maybe not that present with it. And I have to say that when I was practicing connective tissue therapy, it might take me 45 minutes to get into a body. It was an hour and a half session. And I was like doing all the stuff, but 45 minutes in, I was like, I'm in this body, I'm feeling this body. So I suggest you're probably much faster if you do a lot of body work. That first, you just touch the body and ground and feel yourself. Feel their breath, feel your breath. Because so much information is going to be going back and forth through your fingers, with your breath pattern, with the sound of your voice, but how you're connected into the floor. So that was one part of this body work. The other part was with the strokes of the connective tissue therapy, there's this idea that we go in, we pull through, and then we let it out. So I want to say also, sometimes when we're working on a body, we really feel like we're pushing in, we're moving it, Make sure that there's also a balance of coming out of that. So I wanted to talk about our body connectivity and some of these basic body relationships. So we've talked a little bit about the heel sit bone relationship, or the foot into the pelvis. We could think about and this is maybe more BMC, the diaphragms of our feet, the soles of our feet into the diaphragm of our pelvis, these balloony structures. So we've got some rebound, some ground force and rebound as we're working with that. It's also in the palms of our hands. It's in our diaphragm. There's also ones in our brain. There's the pia mater and the dura mater and the, tentorum cerebelli. which are these big domey structures. So if we think of bringing those online as we're working on this body, suddenly it becomes more interesting to work on the body because we're feeling into our own body, right? And I feel like our bodies can connect this information really through sort of the ether. As I'm working on the intelligence of the system is going to take in the intelligence of my system. So if my hands are offering something or responding to something, thinking of bodywork as being this conversation of what's happening. So we talked a little bit about heel sit bone connection. We can also think about the joints as rebound. So I talked about the diaphragms as sort of this rebounding capacity in our body, thinking about our joints as rebound. So that as we're working on someone, as we're working with someone, we are in this kind of rebounding relationship where it's in and out. And if you think of the rebounding relationship, you can think energetically what's happening with that. Like there's this like suspension and then connection, suspension. There's this spaciousness. So this is just a really weird way of talking about body work and being into your body, but I hope it's helpful. Yeah, and I can see Mary in the room responding to this stuff. Just different ways to think about how we're experiencing this other body. What am I feeling? And I think it really matters because what is our brain and our intention putting into them? So whether I work with somebody on a body level, like training them, doing any kind of movement, I feel like there's a super important balance that is, what do they want? What do I want? And what is possible, right? What can be achieved here? And how much is it a relationship of allowing things to happen? And how much is it, I'm going to take responsibility and fix you? Or is it like, okay, I'm going to be here with you and we're going to see what can happen, right? Like, let's work together on this so that you're taking in my body intelligence, I'm taking in yours. And it's not a complete here, suck my vein, because it's not like, I'm going to fix you, I'm going to take it all, the responsibility, you have nothing to do with it. But the person on the table also has the responsibility to be present with what's going on. This doesn't mean that you can't have some other conversation that's going all over the place, because sometimes that's the stuff that needs to process. All right, let me just have a quick check-in with you, Mary. What do you think? Are we in the right direction with this? Is this helpful?
Totally. I appreciate all the reminders. I'm already doing a lot of that, connecting with the ground, but always the reminder is always welcome. And I love this, like getting it, like I may be going in, but then let it release. I love that. I've never thought of it that way.
And there's actually a little tiny exercise you can do. And it's funny, some of my chiropractors that I've worked with, I see them do it. They'll touch on me and then flick it out. Like there's many ways. Yeah, you can shake out the other person's stuff. You can flick it out. You can breathe it out. You can even shake them a little bit. So it's like, get the system alive, get the integration of the system with just a little bit of like rocking movement. So, we've established there's some fluidity now. Okay, now we can go in a little bit differently. Yes. Okay. Yes. I'm going to offer that this next section we do with seated. You could do it from a ball or a chair. And we're going to play with our head-tail connection. So before I started this, before I actually started making the video, Mary and I were talking, and we were talking a lot about the developmental patterns. So a developmental pattern I want to play with is just head-tail, first of all, so that we're coming online with our head-tail. And maybe the first pattern, if we stick if we want to stay in order, we could do this the embryological unfolding of the head from the heart. That's what's happening in the body as we're developing in the womb. First, it's this little curly, whatever, zygote. And then the primitive streak comes online. And then we start to uncurl within ourselves and then sprout things, arms, legs, organs, all that stuff, right? But head and heart are really connected. And then as I'm thinking connection of head and heart, just taking this into the body level, I'm also thinking gut body, tongue to tail, right? Gut body, head to heart, tongue to tail. Finding that connection. We had talked about those diaphragms in us. Now we're letting those diaphragms all move and shift relationships. So the diaphragms, we can say that they're kind of horizontal in our body. They're kind of in the horizontal plane, but a lot of them are ballooning up or down, or they're moving up and down, or like with the diaphragm in our rib cage and lungs, it is kind of on an incline. And I also just did this, Leslie Kaminoff and Gil Headley just did a thing on Gil Headley's Live with Gil, and they were talking about like the pleura, the parietal pleura, and how there's like shear in there. So like our bodies have all of these different ways of moving. And this is to think about also when you're moving someone else's body or someone else's tissue, we can, roll through it, we can push into it, or we can, kind of grab onto the surface and get the whole thing to shear. So that's just another way of thinking that it's coming from me being in this relationship of head tail. And then also coming into our awareness here in our head and neck, like what's going on for us with that. And especially when you're working with a person, because usually they're below you, how much is it visual? How much are you feeling into it? So how much kinesthetic? And maybe there's the auditory part because you're listening to whatever they have to say, or even sounds of their breath or their body. So let's add, let's do head tail with a side side. It could be just a C curve side to side, but I'm really feeling I like to call it the Stevie Wonder. Axl Rose also quite good at it. The rock star head tail connection. Rock star head tail, yeah. Which if we try to keep it as sort of in the vertical plane as possible, there isn't a lot of forward backward. Although if we add some forward backward, it gets really delicious and it becomes much more lemniscatic, much more Mobius strip. So finding that freedom. So that's another thing to think about when you're working with someone else's body is if you're really feeling into what's happening in your own body, you can be like, oh, as I'm here in their body, I'm feeling something not happening here in my body. So maybe there's a relationship with that. And can I bring it on in my body so that like just the force of my energy field, my whatever human presence, my touch can stimulate those systems in their body. So we're moving in these different rhythms. Like we talk about the scapulohumeral rhythm, the rhythm of the relationship between the scapula and the humerus, which is the next connection that I want to get into. We didn't fully go through the head tail with all the possibilities because we could be twisting, but it's okay. We're going to move on to this. Yeah, I break all the rules all the time, even when you're teaching. So we talked about the scapulohumeral rhythm. I've also heard it called the humeral scapula rhythm. So I think that was by an Alexander person. It's the rhythm of this movement of this head of our arm, our humerus, ball and socket joint up here, and how this can possibly gradated rotate as it circles around, right? The relationship of that. Then I also like to include the collarbone and the scapula, and then even the rib cage, lungs, and heart. And then if I'm going that far, I can include the diaphragm, right? So depending on, a lot of times with body work, we think we're treating one system, but we might really be treating something else. Something else might be way more important. So just staying open in your sensation in your body to be like, am I really working with bones and muscle and fascia, or am I actually working with lymph? Is this something different, right? Does it feel different? So, and it's interesting because moving this relationship, just to throw the lymph part in there, subclavicular area is where the lymph is coming back into your system. This armpit area, huge amount of lymph nodes, right? So if I'm getting into that hand scapula connection, I'm also going to be affecting lymphatic. And I want to clear and move this area up here first so that it can come back in and reintegrate and then come back out. Just breathing into that. And so for us also as body worker practitioners, if you're working on somebody and you find that your hands are getting tired, your arms are getting tired, give yourself a break and shake it off for a second, or just hold them with one hand and let the stuff out of your body. Okay, let's do the hand scapula on the other side. And I'm going to relate this to the Bartenia fundamentals. Arm circle. This is our arm circle. And I mean, the arm circle could happen in any way. I can do it here. But if I start to really play with all the fluidity and all the possibility of that rhythm of those relationships between my collarbone, between my scapula, all the way even out to my fingers. In the role play class before this, we did a whole bunch of core distal. So we have head tail, we have this core distal relationship, center to edge, and feeling that relationship. So let's go whole center to edge with that idea of these relationships up here and letting our lower body free up as well. You're on your ball, so maybe it's going to be harder. If you're out there in TV land, you could be on your butt, you could be standing up, but finding this, I want to say starfish-like relationship of these limbs, head, tail, core distal, fingertips, toes, palms of the hands, soles of the feet, these whole relationships through our body. Yeah, and I know the people who are following this Laban work are all like dancers, movement teachers, and osteopaths, and people who are doing all sorts of different stuff, chiropractors. And I have to say, like, that work, those hands-on body works have been like the saving grace for my mental state and my physical state. Like for me, the answers are usually being touched through my body somewhere or moved through my body. And I usually need another person to help me with that, right? I can do all the stuff by myself on my own. I can teach it all. But at the end of the day, I need another person's hands and another person's energy on my body fairly regularly to help me regulate, to help my whole system be more integrated. So let's just take a second to land with that. Maybe you close your eyes, listening into the intelligence of your own system. Yeah, so here's a relationship that's coming up in my mind right now. And it's like the V of my sacrum up into my ears, right? There's like this long V, which I could think of it as like, there's the V of my sacrum, there's the fascia coming out and then out and out. And then there's these little edges of this sort of distal part of me also, head, tail, core distal. I can feel that up into my ears. And when I think of that, it changes my whole awareness of my central channel. It's almost blossoming out. I think what are the calla lilies that have that little cup, like this shape, this long stem with this little, I think they're calla lilies. And that brings me into, oh, I want some movement in the horizontal. I've now found that vertical. Now I want to spiral. I want to have more free flow. Yeah. So I think that, like, for me, if the more I can keep remembering to self-reference when I'm doing anything, even teaching, like, because I get very excited and up here, I'm like, okay, do I need to come down? Do I need to come in? Do I need to feel my feet on the floor? Or just slow everything down? And as I'm in this slower place, I become more aware of my sacrum and my sit bones, my sit bones and my iliacus, the iliac crest, pubic bone. And as I'm in there, I can feel into my femur head coming up into that hip joint. Again, ball and socket joint. So we can think relationships, right? And this might be something to think about when you're working on another person. Like, okay, let's say there's some kind of issue with a hip or a shoulder. It might be helpful to go to the other place first. Like in the connective tissue work, we usually work on the healthy side first, or the healthy area, and then go into the other parts so that the flow can start through the body, and also the healthy side can teach the other side, whatever, the more restricted side or whatever it is. Sometimes people just want you to get in there on their pain spot right away. And I mean, that's the balancing of what you want, what they want, what you think you should do. And so, yeah, maybe that's what needs to be done. But just bearing in mind, there's so many possibilities. So let's take it into this relationship between the pelvis and the ribs. And I think this is a Bonnie Bainbridge Cohen thing, which I really like. And that's like, if we want to have a flexible spine, it's about all the stuff outside of the spine has to get softer and easier, right? The relationship of my head to my ribs to my pelvis, the fascia in there, the bandy stuff. And for most of those really big bands of fascia, like let's say our IT band, and this is all Gil Headley stuff and the dissection stuff that I learned, there's like this big kind of like packing tape band of fascia in our IT band, also in our backs. Like we have these huge areas, but underneath that is another layer of fascia that's going at a different, like it's softer and squishier and totally different consistency. So we have all these different types of fascia. So I've got my big strong IT band, which I need to be tight and strong to help me stand up. But underneath that, I have this squishier, more, it allows my quad to really move in different ways. Like if this was too tight and gummed up, I couldn't move my leg, right? So those underneath layers of fascia that are kind of cross-hatching in a different way. And people think, okay, one's going this way and one's going that way. Well, yes, but they're also kind of doing this, right? There's this movement, like for something to have movement, it has to have some freedom. So this is the idea with, yeah, like, so let's say this one is the IT band on top, and this is the stuff underneath. The IT band's probably going to stay pretty much like with this fibrous relationship like that. But underneath, this has got lots of capacity to move in different ways. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to move your leg, right? This is talking about that shear stuff, right? Which is in the inside your rib cage, how your lungs are moving, sliding up and sliding down. So much. I wanted to say a little bit more about the breath because I'm on the ribs and lungs. So this is a Leslie Kaminoff like tidbit. 60% of your breath is of your lung space is in the back of the body, right? 60% into the back. And if I'm inhaling, like sometimes people think when they're exercising, it has to be I'm exhaling on the exertion or I'm inhaling, just depending what it is. It can be different. Play with variety in that. Like once you've learned what it should be, try different things as well, because different things will happen when you do it in a different way. So we want to keep that openness to possibility, especially for the people who out there who I know a lot of you are really masters at so much stuff. So how do we stay, not get rigid around our mastery, but stay kind of fluid? And this is something actually with Gil, people are asking him questions and he's like, well, he's dissected hundreds of bodies. He's like, I can't remember what that one thing's called, or I can't remember this. Like, we don't have to know all the information. We can also glean it from the person on the table or from somebody else in the room, or not know. It's okay to be in the not knowing and the not fixing for ourselves and for other people. Where's, like, what's the wisdom that can be found in the not knowing within my own body? There's for me, it's like, oh, thank God, you don't have to know everything. There's a freedom to it or fix anything. But all, like, to me, I guess the whole main important practice is to be present with, to withness, which is a word that I learned from Bayo Akomolafe, the poet. To be in, like, witness each other and witness each other. And I feel like, especially at this time in our lives and in our, and in our world that we're in, it's really important to do both of those things, to witness and to witness and to share. Because I feel like everyone that I've been talking to is in a little bit of a digestive squeeze, let's say. There's stuff going on. And I have to say, honestly, in my life, there are times where I feel like, wow, everything's amazing. This is great. I'm not in one of those times right now. Sometimes I am, some part of the day is, but then other parts of the day are more in that, like, peristaltic squish. Right? So, digesting our lives. That's back to that gut body, which is very Bonnie Bainbridge-Cohen, very continuum, tuning into the gut body. Finding that fluidity in the system. And also just allowing a body to teach you, like, oh, maybe it doesn't want to do something like this, but maybe something like this is okay, right? So finding that completely opposite thing, which brings me into space. I'm thinking really cubes and diagonal here. So let's find some, like, cubey diagonals. We can go with both sides of our body, right forward high, left back low, or left forward high, right back low, and then other side, same thing. Yeah, so this is, in the cube, we want to have 3 equal spatial poles. So you know how when we're in the icosahedron, and I'm doing this specifically for Mary because she's been so into the icosahedron, in our planes, there's a dominant spatial pull, and it's the name of the plane. So in the vertical plane, the dominant spatial pull is up, down, it's the vertical. In the horizontal plane, the dominant spatial pull is the side, side. That's the horizontal. And there's the secondary is the sagittal. In the sagittal plane, the dominant spatial pull is forward, backward, the secondary is up, down. So that's the movement in the icosahedron has not this complete equalness of spatial pulls. But when we go into the cube, it's 3 equal spatial pulls. So when exactly, I can see how it changed in your body with that idea. So when you think, and I'm talking to you, person in TV land, just kidding, I'm talking to Mary. So you want to have equal upness, equal sideness, equal forwardness. And then as we go back, we want to have equal backness, equal downness, equal sideness. Obviously, this is going to be more easy in the front than when we're crossing down into the back. But feel what that's doing to your gut body. And this works directly with that hand, pinky, scapula, collarbone relationship, our head-tail connection. Let's try it on the other side. So up on the diagonal, 3 even spatial pulls. And then we take it back again, 3 even spatial pulls. So yeah, the even spatial pulls are vertical, sagittal, and horizontal. And the same thing here, 3 in the cube, equal. And just feel as you're in there, what feels good. Like for me, often the thing that feels the best is really reaching out and up. Like I find so much wonder in those forward high places, whether it's side, side, straight in front, like all that is my area of wonder. The behavior panel would call that inspiration. Yeah. Oh, what's out there? We could also, I know that I've said this before, but we're talking to the gods. We're talking with the gods and the goddesses. What's up there? What are we bringing in? Right here I am opening up into that. And if I really reach forward that into my forward corners, oh yeah. And then I can bring it back. And then I can enclose into the both back. Open up, reach into the forward highs, and then take it forward side high and take it into the backs. Oh, maybe more on this side, maybe more on this side. Oh, but if I soften that and just let myself enclose, I can be in this really nice sort of self-care. Oh, it's okay, I'm okay in here. This is soft, calming myself, soothe and settle in here. Coming in. Yeah, so here's a lot of relationship of inner to outer. And inner-outer balance is a major theme in the Laban work. Like, have we spent enough time feeling into things? What's going on the outside? There's so many ways that we can perceive balance. And I think Gil Hedley talks about his whole somanat thing as like the inner space. So there's the inner space of what's inside the human body in a cadaver, and also the inner space of a living human body. And I think that that's the really most important thing and it's a paradigm change for me even to think about. Like I have to keep thinking about it. And I've been working with this material for 25 years, but that we are alive, living fluid systems. I have to show you something super cool. So speaking of the body level, I was out hiking with Georgina yesterday, and we came across some deer bones. And I'm just going to show you these vertebrae and some rib bones. Pretty sure it's a deer. We can be certain it's not a human. That's all I can say. Anyway, it was out there. Okay, so here's like a vertebrae, right? This would be the spinous process on the outside. And there's the hole in the middle. That's where that's where your spinal cord is going, right? There's a hole down the middle. And there's some other ones. They're really cool. Here is another one. So just to compare those two, look at the spinous process up here in the back compared to this one down here. So this is probably getting down. I'm totally closer to your pelvis, and this is probably up in the neck. I could be totally wrong, but that's what I'm guessing. My dear anatomy, like there is the spinous, there's the hole for the spinal cord. When people have spinal stenosis, what's happening is that there's calcification in here and it's tightening up. Here's a rib. Look at, there's a whole ridge under here. There's like this whole ridge in the bone right in here. It's super soft and smooth. So inner bone, here's some great body, here's another rib, a lower rib, or maybe it's a higher rib. I don't even know. My animal anatomy isn't that great. But what I want to say is, like, in our abdominals, like our abdominals and our, here's the edge of my rib cage, right? And this is actually a stroke that we would do in connective tissue therapy after having done a bunch of other stuff, but you can kind of dig in and under, and I'm moving the tissue so that I'm separating things a little bit so that my liver isn't all gummed up against my diaphragm. But what's also happening under here is my deepest layer of abdominals, my transversus abdominis, is coming in under and connecting in under the inside, right? Some things connect onto the rib and then some are on the outside. So Gil actually recently did a really interesting video of all the different ways that muscle connects to things. So muscle can connect to bone, muscle can connect to tendon, muscle can connect to perifascia. You know, so it's on YouTube. Highly recommend checking it out. I will put a link to his channel in the bottom of this one. This is like the anatomy lesson, some movement, but the spine stuff.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I don't want to slow your roll, but yay for you. I'm so excited you found all those wonderful bones. Beautiful. I had a really sore place on my shin that I banged yesterday, and somehow what we've been doing is freeing it up. It was like all the way up. So yay for that. And can we do the A scale?
Yes. Awesome. Perfect. Yeah. Let me talk to you for one.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, we can bring it all in. I'm going to do one more bone. This is I don't know, probably a leg bone. Oh, yeah. Just to show how curvilinear this is, right? There are no straight lines in our body. Everything's like a curving, arcing shape. And it's not just curving in one way, like there's even twists within the curves, right? So just to bear that in mind, these are dead. We're alive. This would be all wet. It would be covered in juicy perifascia, like, and then inside of it is going to be the bone marrow, you know, the bones. I'm so excited about them. We're going to do the A scale because Mary is in class. And I think other people that have been here with us in the TV land, Jean, are also doing this space stuff. Here's the icosahedron. We did some cube movement. Yeah, the Laban lab could go anywhere, right? So we're just going to talk about the planes here. Here's the vertical plane, up and down. Sometimes I have a piece of paper to shove in there, but I don't think I have it right now. Horizontal plane and sagittal plane.
So is it 12 points and how many sides, Laura?
20.
20 sides?
20 sides, 12 points. Yeah, here's the, if you're a true nerd, you might play D&D and have D&D dice around. And this is a great full demonstration of what it is. And you'll know it's 20 because this is the 20-sided dice that you roll for initiative or anything else that happens. Yeah, and it's worth having these platonic solids like the icosahedron, just to see what they are and to have a relationship with them. Like that is an icosahedron with some extra stuff, like I painted in that extra triangle. But I want to do a class on painting and moving space. Yes, I know. I need to set it up as an actual course. That will happen. All right, so we're going to move, first just move the points. Oh, no, let's just go with the A scale all the way. If you need to see this in broken down, short, slow bites, go back to other videos where we work with the planes first. I'm going to do this turned around. So I'm going to start with high right, back low, left forward middle, low right, back high, right forward middle, low left, forward high, right back middle, high left, forward low, left back middle to high right. Let's do it again on the other side, and then let's do it with the metronome. So starting on the other side, we have high left, vertical plane, back low, sagittal plane, right forward middle, horizontal plane, low left, vertical plane, back high, sagittal plane, left forward middle, horizontal plane, low right, vertical plane. Forward high, sagittal plane. Left back middle, horizontal plane. High right, vertical plane. Forward low, sagittal plane. Right back middle, horizontal plane. Back to high left. Yeah, so make sure that you don't get forward in your high left, that you stay flat. I think looking at you in your vertical plane is where you want to get forward or backward. Yeah, keep it right out to the side. So it's like you're a card, right? Like a playing card. And you're just hitting those corners of your playing card in the vertical. Otherwise, you've gone into the cube. All right, let me get my trusty metronome. And we're going to start it with, let's start it with in 4. And then we'll do 4 right side, and counts of 4 to each thing, 4 to the right side and then the left side. Then we'll do it with counts of 2. Then we'll try it with counts of 1. That's where you go. Do I know this? Yeah. We'll see if we can get it together. Maybe. Where is the metronome? There it is. Can you hear it? I'll put it up here. Here we go, to the high right, going 1, 2, 3, 4, back, 2, 3, 4, cross, 2, 3, 4, down, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 4, 2, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, what I want, yeah, make sure you don't go forward. I know, but it's good to know what your habits are. It's good to go forward. Try to take all 4 counts to get there. So I didn't say that before, but, and then we'll do 4 on the left, and then we'll switch to 2 to 2 and to 1. Yeah, we can do it. Starting with 4 on the left. Here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, into 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. How is that? Okay, other side. 6, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. All right, let's try it in ones. We'll count in 6, 7, 8. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. I know it's hard. Let's do that side one more time. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. It's super hard. It's hard. Yeah. Let's do the other side. We'll do it twice through. I'll stop in the middle. 6, 7, 8. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. One more time. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Okay, that was kind of torture and hell, I am certain. But
I like 2 and 4 better. That was
yeah.
like when you're trying to get out of the bathroom quick and you just flick your hand under the shake
Or-
it off.
Or when you actually miss and you notice as soon as you already gone to the bathroom that the toilet seat was down. Like, oh no.
That's too funny. Okay, it's because of the crossing, you know, that I get in that forward, and then so that then to go right back into vertical just to the side. But I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. Oh my God. I'm sorry for torturing everybody with that last one, but keep playing with it. Like just like go back to that section. Once you feel like you've got it and be like, am I here yet? Do I have it yet? Because when you can do it in ones, you have it in your body. Right. Yeah. So.
Too fun.
Yeah.
Thanks, Laura.
I'm going to stop recording for TV Land people. I know Mary has to leave early. Please like and subscribe.
Yeah, do it.